Welcome back to Ravens Today. I'm your host, Connor Gioffreda, giving you all the latest updates on anything and all things Baltimore Ravens. All right, first up, we're going to dive into the recent negotiation leak that went out, that there was apparently a very different side of the story that we as the fans didn't get to hear in terms of the Rashod Bateman extension. So let's dive into that. Apparently, Rashod Bateman had wanted to do an extension, but then the Ravens denied it. So then they offered him the opportunity to look for a trade. And then there were teams that did want Rashod Bateman. And the Ravens said, oh, wait a minute, we can just extend you ourselves. And then they extended Bateman, probably matched any offer that was headed his way anyway. And then they just said, okay, this is fine with us. Let's do this one. While Bateman did say he loves the organization and he loves the Ravens and he wants to be a Baltimore Raven for the rest of his career, and he wants, the contract was well deserved and we got him for a pretty good deal. The NFL is still a business. And in that business, every team is trying to, get the best players, or most of the teams are trying to get the best players that they can. Ravens, here's my theory about what the Ravens saw in this opportunity. The Ravens knew that Rashod Bateman was a potential valued trade asset for them. And especially because the Cowboys had looked at Rashod Bateman before. Because the Cowboys, were one of those teams that were looking to trade him for him, and looking at also, not just now, like earlier, but also last season. Ravens saw this as a business opportunity where they knew Bateman wanted to be a Raven. So they said no, and Bateman went to look. They wanted to see what his value was really worth, what teams would offer. I think the Ravens could match that offer and keep Bateman for the long term. Again, NFL is just a business. So they looked at this and said, hey, we got you. We're still going to look at what teams offer you, but we'll just match that for you and then just sign that contract extension. So they were never really going to let Bateman go. They just wanted to see what his value was worth. But that's just my theory. Of course, I may be completely wrong, and maybe the Ravens just didn't want to extend him until they saw what type of value Rashod Bateman actually was. But what do I know? Moving on. Jaire Alexander was recently released by the Green Bay Packers. 28 years old, still has some gas left in the tank. Injury prone, though. That's my problem. But he and Lamar had been teammates. Still great friends. Teammates in Louisville. Still great friends to this day. I feel like the Ravens should sign him for cheap, because looking at it right now, they need another veteran presence in the corner position. They have Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, and Chidobe, but then they have guys who are inexperienced like JAD, TJ Tampa. So they need another veteran presence there to be able to provide a much more fluid rotation, if that makes sense, where they have another vet presence there to help with the younger fellas and be able to, properly help them in their development, better than just throwing them to the wolves. I want to see this happen. I think Alexander would be a great asset to the Ravens. While he is injury prone, I feel like that is because, he was on the Packers. Let's just go with that. But I feel like we can get him for a really cheap deal, and I think that Jaire wants that to happen. The Packers had looked for a trade with him before, but I guess they were looking for too high a price for it, and nobody really nibbled at that. So, Jaire's on the market now. So I want the Ravens to go after this and capitalize on this. get a cheap deal for him. Maybe a 1-year deal would be great, just to see how he plays and stuff like that. And I want that to move forward, and hopefully it does happen. Moving on, Lamar Jackson was not a full participant in OTAs again, so he forfeited $750K per his contract. This is nothing new. This has happened before. He did do it last season. We all thought it was because he was holding out, or not last season. He did it, like, he's done it multiple times. He had done it in a way where, he doesn't have to show up. It's voluntary. And while he does forfeit $750K, he's more than able to afford that. And I remember when he didn't come to OTAs on his contract year, and we were all freaking out. We were all freaking out that he was just holding out, yada, yada, yada. I'm not worried. He's had private workouts with Zay Flowers, with Rashod Bateman. I'm pretty sure Likely was there as well. So he's training. He's with the guys that he throws to. So and he's gonna show up to when training camp is in full swing, when it's mandatory for you to show up. He's gonna be there. I'm not worried. I mean, maybe it's like a business thing for him where he wants to help out the team without doing much, so he gives back $750K to the salary cap. So I mean, I don't know for sure if this is his plan, but he's done it multiple times throughout his tenure as a Raven, and like, okay, it's like whatever at this point. He's allowed to skip OTAs. He can afford it, and we get money back. We get some money back, but not worried about this. He'll show up during mandatory training camp, and we will see the full Lamar as we are used to seeing him in camp. Lastly, Jon Gruden had visited the Ravens not too long ago, over the weekend and the end of last week. He and John Harbaugh have a good relationship. Gruden is a Super Bowl winning coach, as is John Harbaugh, so he knows that level that it needs to be taken to in order to get to that Super Bowl. He had a lot of praise for the Ravens organization and to John Harbaugh, mentioning how the Ravens organization is very, it is built like a machine. They are a Super Bowl winning team. They look they look fresh, and they're really motivated, and then more motivated than ever. He loves John Harbaugh, and it's just great to see from a guy who is a former Super Bowl winning coach who, oh gosh, I remember this game when he was Raiders head coach for that small amount of time, and he shockingly beat the Ravens. It was about 3 years ago, and it was one of those losses that you were kind of like about. So, but anyway, he had a lot of praise for the organization. It's great to hear that there's a former coach outside looking directly into the organization and just having high praise coming out of his visit. He brings a lot of value as a coach, and maybe if he's looking for another coaching job, the Ravens pick him up. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but it would be cool to have an experienced coach like Jon Gruden come back for a stint with the Ravens, and maybe like plays as Harbaugh's assistant. I don't know, but I don't know if that's happening or if that's Gruden's end goal. But like, that's what I like. If that's the case, let's go for it. Thank you for tuning into Ravens today. I'm your host, Connor Gioffreda. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video. I will catch you all later. Have a good one.